Tunnel rats, one of the most dangerous jobs you could be assigned during the Vietnam War. But who were the tunnel rats? The tunnel rats were soldiers from the American, Australian, South Vietnamese and New Zealander armies. The job of these soldiers was to crawl through underground tunnels and perform search and destroy missions. Later, similar units were used by the Soviet forces during the Soviet-Afghan War and also by the Israel Defense Forces during the Middle East campaigns, but today's focus is on the original tunnel rats who operated during the Vietnam War. Their motto, non gratis anus rodentum, translates to, not worth a rat's ass. First, let's see the history behind these tunnels and the reason for their construction. During the First Indochina War against the French colonial forces, the Viet Minh constructed an extensive system of underground tunnels. These tunnels were later also greatly expanded by the Viet Cong troops. There were two basic types of tunnels. The expedient tunnels. The size of these tunnels ranged from 20 to several hundred feet in length, simple in construction, consisting of safe hiding spots, ambush opportunities, a riverbank or escape tunnels. They were camouflaged to facilitate escape or evasion. Complex tunnels, as the name says, these were more like underground complexes that consisted of hospitals, sleeping areas, training facilities and ammunition stores. These tunnels also had a sophisticated ventilation system that allowed the Viet Cong to stay underground for longer periods of time. The tunnels were crucial in the fight against an enemy far more powerful than yourself. But as American forces found out about the tunnels, they started sending soldiers down these tunnels in order to clean them up. That's where the VC got a lot wiser and started putting traps in the tunnels to slow down and kill the tunnel rats. On paper, the job of a tunnel rat was voluntarily, but in reality, if the commanding officer asked you if you wanted to become a tunnel rat, it was more like an order rather than a question. At least that's what one of them said for an interview. Tunnel rats were armed with a knife, an M1911 pistol, some C4 explosives and a flashlight. However, many of them didn't like the standard issued M1911, which was forged in the .45 caliber round. These rounds would often leave a soldier temporarily deaf when fired in the confined spaces. They say that the last guy that fired a Colt 45 in the tunnel had his ears bleeding. As a result, some preferred to be armed with the .38 caliber revolver that had a suppressor attached onto it. Other weapons they used were .22 caliber automatics made during World War II, .25 caliber automatics and sawn-off shotguns sent to them from back home. Besides the enemy, the tunnel rats had to face many other potential dangers. Tunnels were often very poorly constructed, causing them to simply collapse. Oftentimes they were booby-trapped with grenades, punji sticks, anti-personnel mines. Even venomous vipers were left behind by the VC as a living threat. Spiders, scorpions and ants were also present in these tunnels. Just keep in mind that in Vietnam there are more than 300 different ant species, many of whom are venomous. Some tunnels were designed with special U-bends that could easily be flooded, resulting in the tunnel rats getting drowned. Poison gases were left behind to asphyxiate the tunnel rats. A gas mask was actually presented as an option when entering the tunnel, but many of them didn't take it because the mask limited their field of view and was hard to breathe with it down in the tunnel. To be a tunnel rat, you needed to be 5 feet 5 or shorter so you can maneuver in the narrow space more comfortably. Many tunnel rats were of European or Hispanic descent, and often the Afro-American soldiers would avoid this job since most of them were taller than that. Inside the tunnels, VC soldiers would intentionally leave behind their backpacks that contained a venomous viper inside, ready to bite anyone brave enough to open the backpack. Soldiers called these snakes two-step vipers, because after one of them bit you, you could make 2 steps before you died. Also, this was used as a booby trap outside of the tunnels. Another great danger was a box full of scorpions which was tied to a hole in the roof of the tunnel. Once the soldier has activated the wire by crawling onto it, the entire box would flip and all the scorpions would fall on the crawling soldier, killing him almost every time. If by some miracle you have managed to survive the scorpions crawling back out of the tunnel with all the stings you received, was not an easy thing to do. Once tunnel rats have crawled out of the tunnel and into the enemy territory, they were instructed not to shoot 5 or 6 times in a row because it would give the enemy enough time to shoot back while you had to reload, considering that nobody was there to cover you. Some of them said that it was like being blind. They went by the smell, touching and hearing. Furthermore, the rats never knew where they were going to be when they exited the tunnel on the opposite side of their entry. Some came out literally in the hands of the enemy soldiers who were going to slit your throat, or a little better, they would keep you alive at a cost of constant torture. These people never knew what they were going against. They never knew the size of the tunnels they were entering, nor how many enemies were waiting for them inside. A tunnel rat once said, "We'd enter the tunnel one at a time, separated by several feet, so a grenade wouldn't get us all. You'd feel your way along for booby traps. It got so you could sense them. The same for VC. You could smell another human being in the tunnel. You knew he was waiting for you in the dark. Many times, I tried to talk VC into surrendering. They never would. These men were summoned anytime a suspicious hole was found in the ground. The VC had a lot of respect for the men who would go down these hellholes with a very little firepower and almost no idea where they were heading. During the war, there were around 700 tunnel rats in total, no more than 100 at the same time. 36 tunnel rats were killed and 200 wounded, an astonishing rate of 1 in 3. It's very difficult to comprehend their experience, the fear they possessed, and the PTSD most of them who are alive still suffer from. Thanks for watching the video. If you enjoyed it, please leave a like, comment and subscribe to the channel.